I want to remind everyone that from these type of events, the best opportunities arise. Yeah. And so, people make more money by buying things in a bear market, and then the rebound afterwards is tremendous.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have Gareth Soloway giving us his market analysis and price prediction for Bitcoin, as well as his take on the economy and where crypto is headed in the next few months. With many stocks sitting in a very tight spot, we can now see a scenario of many banks defaulting, which will look very similar to the Lehman Brothers collapse in 2008, but Gareth believes the Fed will pivot and stop further interest rate hikes, preventing an economic disaster. Let's listen to this interview with Gareth Soloway as he gives his investment advice and price prediction for Bitcoin, as well as where the crypto and stock market is headed in the next few weeks. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy what we do here on this channel. Let's get right into the video.
What is the worst case scenario for Bitcoin, either in October, we can talk about October, and in the following months?
I'm in agreement that we haven't reached the bottom in Bitcoin yet. It doesn't mean we're not going to get bounces, and I think sentiment is somewhat on the bearish side right now, so we may have a short-term bounce coming in Bitcoin, but I don't think the bear cycle is over for a couple reasons. Number one, you have the stock market that I don't think has bottomed. The US is kind of moving towards a recession. We know there's generally a global recession on the horizon as well. So all of these things will take money away from people that would normally maybe invest some in Bitcoin. Past cycles, Bitcoin's always corrected 80 to 85%. We've only dropped about 70 to 75%. So you would think that there'd be a little bit more downside. And in addition, I don't think we've seen a full washout. One of the comparisons I drew before with the dot-com era in the late 90s and early 2000s, you really saw this nasty washout. And we really haven't seen that. You've seen some projects go bankrupt. We know Celsius and a few other things, but you haven't seen a real major washout yet where you've demolished and a lot of coins have gone to zero. And so I think you still have to see that full washout, which is actually very, very healthy for the market. It's what you want to see if you're a long-term believer in Bitcoin like myself. Now, in terms of a worst case scenario, so my general target, my best case is 12 to 13,000. That's where I think the best case would be. My worst case, unfortunately, would be 3,500, which would put it in alignment with Amazon.com's .com collapse. So in 2000, Amazon.com topped out in the .com era, and it collapsed 95%. And so if Bitcoin were to do that, it would put it around 3,500. That would be the worst case scenario. So I'm not sure if that'll happen though.
It's hard to fathom the Fed raising interest rates by 225 basis points in such a short period of time. Soloway knows the Fed realizes something must be done to save the economy because rate hikes could have a domino effect that triggers a severe financial crisis. With inflation being at a record high now, we can see that the market has no good endgame. In the long term, he sees many economies getting destroyed by what's happening.
What can we expect for the following, let's say, 4 to 6 months?
So in October, at least for us now, I'm actually slightly bullish near term, but going out 4 to 6 months, I do think we head back down. I think by mid 2023 to the second half of 2023 is when Bitcoin would bottom out per the last few cycles. And I think you'll see that coincide with the global stock markets having another leg lower once they see that we are in a global recession. And then the biggest question for me is that in past recessions, in past tough market times, the central banks have always come out and printed money. With the US now having a higher inflation rate, it's very hard for them to print our way out of a recession. And so if the Fed can't print us out of this next recession, it means it's going to be a long drawn out recession. And that's going to be really tough for the financial markets to handle.
You said that we're going to reach bottom in the second half of 2023. That means that you're predicting, and in your opinion, 2023 the recession is going to last longer than people think.
I think that's exactly it. And I think the kicker here is, past recessions for the last 20 years, whenever we've gone into a recession, the Fed has started quantitative easing, which is printing money or lowering interest rates. We're going into now a new type of recession we haven't seen in a long time, where we have the high inflation. And we know that if they start lowering interest rates and printing money, then inflation is going to go even higher. So it's going to make the Fed unable to get us out of this recession, which I think keeps us in recession for a longer period than normal. You basically have this scenario where the Fed has kind of been the rescuer, the one coming to the rescue of the financial markets every time we go into a tough period. And they just won't be able to this time, at least not as early on as the markets would like.
Are you dollar cost averaging all the way down? What would you not recommend, but what are you doing right now? What is your strategy?
Yeah, and that's a great question. And number one, you're right. I mean, this is a lot of kind of sobering talk that we're doing here, but I want to remind everyone that from these type of events, the best opportunities arise. Yeah. And so, people make more money by buying things in a bear market, and then the rebound afterwards is tremendous. And so I actually say to myself, when we go through tough times, I always look at it in a positive light of saying, okay, this is going to give me a great opportunity to buy gold, buy stocks, buy Bitcoin at the right levels. And so going to that, yeah, with Bitcoin, what I would recommend, and you're right, I have no idea where the actual bottom will be. All I can do is look at the charts and let them guide me. So I think when you're below 20, you basically start inching in with very little amounts, and you just dollar cost average all the way down. So for instance, what I like to do is I divide the amount of money that I want to invest in Bitcoin. Let's say I have $100,000, and I would divide it into 5 segments of $20,000. And what I would do is, let's say at 18, put 20,000 in, and then at 15, another 20, and then at 12, another 20. And the idea is that you don't know if it's going to bottom at 15, at 10, or 12, but by just kind of throwing the money at equal installments on the way down, you're going to guarantee that your average price will be relatively good for the next bull run.
What is your strategy in terms of like banks and fiat money? So
in terms of fiat money, I think it's always smart to keep some money at home, just in case you go to the bank and the bank is closed down, or there's a grid failure or something like that where you can't get anything out. Right. Yeah, exactly. Anything like that. So I don't have a lot, but I have kind of the emergency, amounts. And then I also am a big believer on having some gold and silver on hand, because again, even if you run out of fiat currency, or let's say the dollar collapses or any currency collapses, gold and silver should hold their value. And you could always, go buy something with a little piece of silver or something like that.
Investors anticipate that the Fed will slow down at its upcoming meeting in November by raising interest rates by 50 basis points. This will serve as a subtle cue from the Fed to the markets that the economy will be expanding once again. Investor sentiment was at an all-time low before last Friday's recovery. Even large hedge funds are placing bigger bets, but many of them have high levels of leverage, which dramatically elevated their risk. We are also witnessing the extremely rare occurrence of hedge funds actively unwinding up to 30% of their clients. For Bitcoin, it might be difficult to determine if it makes sense to sell a position and purchase lower if the price declines. Soloway advises against selling, since there is a good chance that a bull run will commence soon and investors would lose out on profits. What do you guys think about Gareth Soloway's prediction for Bitcoin and the direction the stock and crypto markets are headed in the next few weeks? Comment down below. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is Library of Wealth. We'll see you in the next video.